although High Court of Kenya is a bit misplaced there, Mr. Chair, it should have just say it would have gone with the court decisions on the governing law, not as an institutional framework. The questions raised by the departmental committees relate to the policy and oversight role of the ministry, as well as statutory mandate of the Office of the Sports Registrar. By dint of the Executive Order number 2 of 2003, the ministry offers policy directions and support to sports organizations and ensure their compliance with the relevant laws. Honorable Chair, when I took the oath of office, and also during my vetting in Parliament, I promised the people of Kenya that I will ensure that all sports organizations, including the federations, hold their elections. I also made it clear that no federation will fault on the terms, limits, or fail to hold elections as required by law. And to be specific, Chair, during my confirmation hearing, I made it clear that I was going to ensure that FKF holds elections, and I did exactly that. I had a meeting with the leadership of FKF, and I told them in no time they should be able to hold elections because we were not going to flout the law on term limits. And I'm very happy that we are here today on having a conversation about elections that is upcoming. Accordingly, and in line with the above, the Office of the Registrar of Sports has undertaken the following measures to ensure that the forthcoming FKF elections are conducted in a fair and transparent manner. The Registrar Office has submitted a list of the registered clubs to the FKF election board, which is also a copy is attached here, and I'll submit. Guided on the criteria for the registration of federations and criteria for the electoral process through the second schedule to the Sports Act 2013 and the Sports Registrars Regulations 2016, which I have also attached. Emphasize to the FKF the need for full compliance with the Sports Act and the Sports Registrar Regulations, including that sports organizations holding elections must be registered under the Section 46 of the Sports Act. Elections must be conducted open, free, and fair environment. All the candidates must be cleared by various government institutions, such as Kenya Revenue Authority, Director of Criminal Investigations, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Higher Education Laws Board, and the Reference Credit Bureau. Sports organizations ought to be appointed an independent electoral panel at least 5 people to conduct its elections. Representative of at least one umbrella sports organization, the ministry responsible for matters relating to sports, which is this ministry, and the sports registrar, must be invited as observers by the sports organization. And in this case, it's FKF. The returning officer and the observers must submit a report on credibility of the held elections to the sports registrar within 7 days from the day of election. And any person aggrieved to have dissatisfied with the results of the election has a right to appeal to the sports dispute tribunal within 30 days from the date of election. Therefore, Honorable Chair, I expect the FKF elections will be held on 7th of December, as already been pronounced by the FKF Elections Board 2024, as scheduled, and it shall be done in compliance with the law. This information is this brief, Chair, because our responsibility is to ensure we do not interfere with the elections itself. Ours is to observe compliance. And the role of the registrar is to make sure that they bring up to speed the organizations when they're preparing for elections, and to make sure that all the parties are given the avenue to understand what is the law and what's expected of them. The cabinet secretary and the ministry, including the registrar, should not be the ones who are running the elections itself. Otherwise, we lose our credibility and the independence of the institution. But it is for us to either get complaints or confirmations from participants or people of Kenya to find out whether the law is being complied with, whether the certain voters are actually in the register, whether certain organization providing the voters are in the register. That is our job. And to signify this position, I attempted, Mr. Chair, to invite, and in very good faith, the FKF Elections Board to just come and brief me on the progress they have made. Unfortunately, they also claimed independence and said, to avoid interference, they didn't want to come and see me. So they said they want to talk to the FIFA team to see if we can have a meeting together with the FIFA, and I'm still waiting. Be it as it may, for as long as they're going to conduct the elections independently, I have no interest in trying to micromanage what they're going to do. In any case, all the other federations are doing the elections independently. we also expected that the participants, the competitors, will help us see if the elections is free and fair by the manner in which they see, perceive, feel whether the process is fair. It is through their participation that we can get to know if there are complaints to us or to the tribunal. Then we can tell whether there is any. If everybody is happy, I'm happy. When I'm not getting complaints from also aspirants, I'm happy, and I look forward to 7th of December being the day of the elections, and finally has sorting out this issue of protracted leadership of FKF without proper elections. And hopefully from here, going forward, Mr. Chair, I just need to mention this. Once we review the Sports Act, which the process is ongoing, and it's brought to you here in Parliament, you debate and put re-energize the legal framework. I also hope that going forward we will not find ourselves in a situation where anybody will serve beyond any prescribed term limit, which is 2 term limits in this case, but also that those who will serve in any of the federations will do so transparently. Just as a way of addition to conclude, this is not about FKF alone. This is a journey we have embarked as a ministry. We want to, starting with the popular sport in the country, we want to make sure that all of them are compliant. Then we now revive the other sports that are very important, but
things that the election board for this KFF is made up of independent. Then these people are elected by 92 delegates. There are only 92 people, I think, who participate in the elections, who are supposed to come from the clubs. Our experience 10 years ago was when we went to the register, we found the people running were the ones who had registered the clubs and the delegates. In other words, the aspirants had prepared the register of voters. It's the same thing to date. We need to know, who are these 92? How are they appointed? Have they been vetted? How independent are they? Because it is some of the candidates who have prepared this list. And we don't have to pretend. You can't be in an organization, you prepare the list, you walk out the next day, you say now you want to run. That is the truth. So there's conflict of interest, and I don't think our constitution, even our laws, allow that conflict of interest. That in an election that is supposed to be free, fair, transparent, verifiable, you can prepare the voter register and then walk out and contest on the basis of your own voter register. There's supposed to be an appeals body for these elections. The information I have is that it does not exist. And we are 1 month to election. So if anybody is aggrieved, there's no process of complaining about the appeals body. But most fundamentally, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Although Honorable Karoli has answered actually some of the questions I had, I have a follow-up questions, and I draw to point E, page 5, where the sports organization appoint an independent electoral panel. How shall this independent panel be appointed? And what are their qualifications? Number 2, who are the delegates and how are they identified or selected? Thank you.
You can respond.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. The fairness of the elections is determined by the oversighting body. So the IEBC of FKF is supposed to become to be independent. However, their constitution requires them to appoint their own panel, and that is done at the AGM. This AGM is expected to include all these members, including the last AGM where most of the aspirants, if not all, were participating either as members or observers. It is at that point where they elect and establish a team of elections panel. The current panel is chaired by a professor called Professor Wade from the, I think, the Eastern University. And they have a fairly professionally qualified team to be able to preside over the elections. I don't think it's a very complicated elections because at the end, when you are going to take the top leadership, it's 92 people. But of course, there is a process from grassroots that will determine at the end who is going to sit in terms of the elections of the 92 members. So to a great extent, you know, the law requires also in the sports registrar's regulations that, that it's actually the law itself in the registrar's regulations that says, I'm being reminded here by the registrar, that says that every body, every federation must have an independent electoral panel that is established by the body itself through a transparent process. And so we are confident that they have a proper panel. The question is whether that panel is following the law, you know, whether they are following the law. And for us to know whether they are following the law, it is important to get feedback from participants, particularly the aspirants. And that feedback usually comes either to the office of the registrar or to the office of the CS, and then or a complaint to the sports tribunal or a court of law. We do not wish to have these elections delayed any further because of protracted court processes, but it's important, even as a CS, for me to use my good offices to pass the information to the relevant people who might be flouting the law, so that we don't create a situation where we have a protracted fight, because we really need to have the elections. We need to meet the FIFA standards in terms of the period of time that we need to have the elections, and also do away with this term limit issue where the current office holders will be forced to serve beyond December this year. The qualification criteria for the candidates is defined also in the regulations and also in their own law. Membership to various clubs. You must be a member of a registered club in the country. That registered club is registered with FKF, but also as per the law, you must also be a member of a registered club or a sports association organization as per the registrar's regulations. However, the courts have further said that you can regulate the people who have voting, okay? But you must give every Kenyan a chance to participate and become a candidate in the FKF elections and all other federations if they meet a certain minimum qualifications. And I think for this purpose, we do not have a problem with the whether or not the people who are in office are meeting minimum qualifications, except of course the debate as to whether some of them should actually be running again. Notwithstanding, I see my senior Honorable Carol is noting, you must be, I've noted something about the participation of people running in different offices and so forth. Yeah, the registrar of sports is extremely important if we are going to have properly working sports federations in the country and oversight of sports federations. To be very honest and candid, the candidate registrar, the office of the candidate registrar is not properly resourced, both financially, human resource, and even legally in terms of the structure of the legal mechanisms that are in place to be able to take on as many of these federations as possible. Madam Registrar here has tried her best. She's in sunset years of her tenure. We have agreed with her that we need to work together to make sure that we strengthen the office of the registrar, and how to do so is to make sure, first of all, we get them an office. Physically, they don't have even office space, and we are working together to put in place budgetary provisions to make sure that this office is running. We depend on you, Mr. Chair, to make sure that we get at least some budgetary allocation. I know you stand with us, and because of the budget cuts around the country at the moment, this sector suffered a big blow. You know, Mr. Chair, that for example, the sports academies have zero budget, zero to pay for their staff. Zero, I mean zero. You know, so that people don't think it's an exaggeration. You know, sometimes maybe you say 1 million is zero. No, zero. Meaning that they can't pay their staff. Recently, we had to loan money from one of the agencies to support them to pay their staff. The same way, I would like to request this office in the next budget cycle to deliberately push for resources that are going to help us establish a working office of the registrar so that we can get a proper working office. I'm currently working within the ministry. We are working together as a ministry to get a sitting space and then resource it with computers and other equipment they require, but also human resources is extremely important. One person cannot do this. You cannot go all over the country registering, training them, informing them of compliance issues and so forth. We need to have a sports registrar office that has even at least 10 people who have capacity to do the work that's supposed to be done. I know the reason why I wanted to meet the FKF elections board in the past is to see where they are situated. Many complaints by the aspirants is that they should not have been based in Kandanda House. I was willing to see what you can do, give them a space in Nyayo Stadium or even Kasarani, although Kasarani is undergoing massive renovation. Would have looked for a space for them which looks a bit more removed from where the current aspirants are also operating from, who are office holders. That complaint is still persisting, but I hope we can be able to address it, and I hope when they come to this committee, they will submit themselves to the desire to operate fairly independent. You know that the elections is going on well. There have been 2 debates now. Last night there was a debate, and there was also another debate earlier on the qualification suitability of the candidates, and which I really think that this will take these elections for this year at notch higher. But the problem is, you can debate too many Kenyans and clap for you, then 92 men and women will sit to determine who becomes the president. So sometimes you may like this person and has a greater vision, but depending on other considerations, they may not have a chance to lead. Yeah, I think that's what I can say, Sacha.
Mine is on the sports registrar. And the sports registrar raised several issues in regards to registration of county clubs, football associations. Nothing in that section 46 of the Sports Act gives powers to the sports registrar to register sports organization. Could the CS shed light on the possibility of invoking section 52, 53, and 54 of the Sports Act, which allows the inspection by the Sports Act registrar and the intervention by the CS in the management of sports organization in the country, so that we can attain what Carol is asking. It is within the law. My brother, you are a lawyer. You appear before them, and then you agree, and then we get the law working. Because if we don't do that, we will still have to grapple with this issue to make sure that we get the KFF elections right. And I want to congratulate you for not interfering, because I'm a bit worried. This interference can cost us Jack, can cost us AFCO. And all the investment which has been done will go back to the trade. I think this time round, we just need to be cautious and take the interest of the country beyond what we can deal with Makonde up and down, but the interest of the country. So let's look at this spirit on this verse and we move. Then the second one is off the hook, but you can mention about it. You can brief this committee on the issue of the sports academies, so that you can bring us to speed. We see our best, and be aware that the budget cycle has started again. I hope the Gen Zs will not come to stop it. So I think on this budget policy and budget making process, give us your priorities long time ago. I've been in this house, CS, and the biggest problem that the institutions and the ministries completely go off is when you wait when the figures are in the floor of the house. Yet the process starts now. And if we don't have the policies from you, well, it was So I think, Chair, with all due respect, we definitely need to have a very, probably a retreat from the ministry to look at the policies they want to guide the ministry in the next one financial year. So that these policies will be a guide to us when we are making the budget. And as I say, I pray the Gen Zs will not come to stop this, because we need the sports academies, we need the sports fraternity in the country to move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, CS. In your response, you did not explicitly tell us the minimum qualifications. Remember, we talked about the embezzlement or mismanagement within the federations. So if the ministry will not come forward and set qualifications, that has to be followed by the candidates or by the federation. Then we risk having continuous mismanagement, and that's the simple reason that Kenya, for example, we have never been to the World Cup. You know, it all starts from the foundations, and that's why we need to get a clear response on how best we can have this minimum qualification set, so that we can put the organization to the path of progress and avoid mismanagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted just to thank the CS for saying that he will not fiddle in the coming elections that is slated to be held on 7th December. I was once in the Secretary General of FC Leopards, and this sports politics can be murky, just in case you don't know. So it's good that as long as they've complied, let them do their thing. Two, I had a tournament at the county level in Busia. It was called Girls Can Kick Balls. And the FKF officials really came in nagging. They wanted some money, 40,000, then brought in the referees, the coaches, and every person they brought, again, I was to pay. It became so expensive that I became discouraged to want to bring on board girls to also play football. So I need to understand from the grassroots level if we really want to tap talent from both gender. How is it done so that we don't feel demoralized from wanting to push that ahead? Thank you.
Academic, professional, so forth. All these other provisions can be enhanced, and it is different from one federation to another because it is based on the provisions of their constitution as a federation. But there's a minimum qualifications, and registration is a very important part of that. Now, if we talk about county sports associations, as Mwendwa said, the courts have already pronounced themselves that you can be a member of the county sports association, but you do not qualify to vote in FKF elections unless you are affiliated to FKF. So you have to meet the qualification of affiliation to FKF for you to become part and parcel of the FKF family. And I think that is only right, because we can't force people also to be part of a federation. The challenge we also have is that FIFA can only recognize one federation at a time. So we are a bit constricted in the sense that people must meet first the minimum qualifications in terms of affiliation. Now, how do you get to make sure that affiliations are open, transparent, and accountable? I think it's important in our next review for the Sports Act to now go granular in terms of providing for making sure that the sports associations that have been, because you can be a member of an open, whatever public sports association, but it is easy for FKF, for example, to constrict certain people from joining. We can, in our review of the law, and as I said, we must give you in the first quarter of next year a draft law for the policy of the law. We can go granular to say this is what you should do. Federations must provide the qualifications. Those qualifications, as soon as met by any Kenyan, can become a part and parcel of that federation, or any association can be part and parcel of the federation. We need also to make sure that the delegate system of FKF is the one that is reducing the number of people who are voting. If we were not, if we had direct voting by the clubs directly for the president, I think the elections would be more interesting and enjoyable. What is now the biggest challenge, and I'm told you are meeting the FKF elections board, the biggest issue you must put them to task is who is the voter. It must be published, it must be known by everybody the voter is. Because the challenge we're having now is, and we have had in the past, is that you go to a hall like this during the election day and you are told Honorable Karoli Omondi is a voter and you are meeting him for the first time. Or FKF has affiliated some organization that is not registered by the registrar. That level of transparency is needed. They must explain to you the transparent mechanisms they are put in place in making sure that I know the voter from the beginning, so that if I am campaigning, I know whom I am campaigning. Because a friend of mine told me that he went for elections. He wasted time talking to some people who did not manage to reach the voting area because of these gimmicks that people play down there. The other thing is to make sure that the FKF board, because you see the cabinet secretary has residual powers of stopping and banning the management and disbanding it and putting a management committee. That should be last position. That's why Honorable Muller was saying that we should not lead to a situation where we jeopardize Chan and AFCON. So it's important for this elections board to emphasize the independence to all of us. Not just to me, but I think Parliament can do better even than me, because I'm just one individual. As a committee, when they come here, you must make sure that they are accountable on how they are going to hold these elections transparently, and that they are going to tell the candidates exactly the list of the delegates in good time, so that the people who are going to be elected at the grassroots, who will come and represent the rest of the clubs to come and vote, must be known, and the process must be open, and so that must stop from manipulation. The other thing that had been asked was about term limit. Term limit issue now is sorted with, at least to a great extent, the fact that we had a very good chat with Nick, and he agreed that it was not possible for him to run for another term. However, we have a small legal problem, yeah, and Honorable Karoli here being my senior, you can think through it, and you, even as a committee, you can put this to the elections, FKM elections board. It's the question of whether, if you do not qualify as a president, you can qualify as a vice president. If you have exhausted your term limit as a president, can you then run as a vice president or deputy president? In other words, let me put it in, so you will answer later, but this is my thinking, is that
my next question.
Put it in black and white. Can President Uhuru Kenyatta now deputize anybody in 2027 elections? My answer is no. And the answer, and I have again for...
I hear you, and I really give tremendous respect on your law interpretation. And while we are in this situation, it is a lack of proper regulations, which the ministry must settle this, even if the election goes whichever way it goes in December, but settle this once and for all for the future. Why I'm saying this, I want to draw to you to the bad habit you may see, which probably is emanating from some very respected leaders globally, who have been having flip-flop of leadership in Russia. Putin is president, Putin is prime minister. Putin is prime minister, Putin is president. The same behavior in Israel. Netanyahu president, Netanyahu prime minister. And all this is created by an explicit regulation and qualifications. So, Waziri, we might all of us swallow our pride for two issues. I will not afford the country we lose Jack and we lose AFCON. But what do you do after that has happened? So, I believe when we are revising the Sports Act, these lacunas must be cleared once and for all. We might not have the latitude of time to clear them now. We might not have enough time to deal with the issues, because at the end of the day, if you block somebody, it goes back to court. The election is delayed. We are FIFA. Then the consequences are extreme. And that's why I told you, appear before them, we swallow our pride, they swallow a little pride, and then we move forward. Because I'm foreseeing a very dangerous situation, which probably it is not very clear, because we are addressing the issue as if it's the presidency of the Republic of Kenya. This is the president of our federation. The issue of the delegates, 92 delegates, is something we can think about. Today, Americans will be determined by 270 college votes. If Trump gets the popular vote and Harris gets the college vote, who will be the president? Harris. It has happened to Clinton. It happened to Al Gore and Bush.
Yes.
Some of these international practice must inform ourselves on going forward. So if we don't want these 92 delegates, we must come up with a situation whereby the total number of funds and delegates in the clubs vote, but they carry the electrical vote to carry the 92. But it must be very clear. We are in this situation, we are leaders in this country today. Tomorrow, me and you probably will be enjoying our good evening walk around the city when we be home. We need to clear this mess now when we're in power.
Yes, Chair, thank you very much, and I apologize for coming late. I was supposed to chair another committee, and I had to. But my question to Waziri is number one. You did a good presentation. The part I have listened to you. Section 67 of the Sports Act 2013 requires all the sports institutions to submit financial statements to you. Have all been complied? All the sports institutions, have they complied with that section? Number two, how many reports have you gotten so far? Then the other issue of FKF, Waziri, out of respect, I think this matters before court. And as a committee chair, we cannot deliberate on any matter before the court of the law. So I just want to confirm whether the elections are going to happen this weekend, starting from the grassroots, going to the national level. Because the matter is before court, and we cannot deliberate it before this committee.
Thank you.
Can I
Honorable
respond to that one?
Before you respond,
Yeah.
I want to give to Honorable Naomi, then you can respond.
Thank you, Chair. Waziri, mine is still on the elections. And our concern is, yes, we have constitutions, we have our constitution, we have the policy in place, but we know very well that we have a lot of gaps here and there.
No brainer for a vice president or a deputy president running for presidency in a term limit. For as long as we are doing the FKM election on enforcement of term limits, it is not tenable by law for a former president to run as a vice president. It flouts the same FKM elections. I'm not saying there's absence of law. Anyone who thinks that it's because of absence of law is, in my opinion, is misinterpreting the law. I read to you the Kenyan Constitution, American Constitution, just to show you the extent of length where term limits have been put in place. If we didn't want term limits, it was easier to say you can run for FKM elections up to the time you lose elections. But as a country, once we put in place in the sports act that we are going to have a term limit, and therefore we are governed by rules. Because there are other countries where they have FKF elections, but they don't have a term limit. But for as long as we say we will be having term limits, it is not possible. It's not even neat. It's not even nice. It's not even morally good to find yourself in a place of being a president and then tomorrow a vice president. I think it's just black and white. The contribution of Honorable CNN on the court matter, he has brought to my attention. I was not aware. Nobody has brought to my attention the question that there is a court decision. Luckily, if there was a decision that was going to injunct the FKF election board from doing election, we would have known, it would have gone public. Perhaps there is a court matter, but it is pending determination. I'll be more than happy to benefit from Honorable CNN, who is also my friend, on the details of the elections. And also, my legal team should also have had this, and they should bring it to me. Whether or not there is a court process, then we can keep quiet. But I'm really happy that so far we don't have an injunction. Somebody has said, Honorable Naomi has said, we should we postpone elections? No. This has been a problem. For as long as we have an election date and without any injunctions and court orders, I think as a country it's in good order to have these elections. But we should not have elections at all costs. Yeah? We should not say border elections. We should say elections border. So, in the sense that we hope through the U chair and the members who will be coming before you, the FKF elections board, you can put them to task to make sure that they are in keeping with the law and they help us to get good elections. Because, as I say, the residual power of the minister to still disband whatever team which has been established if the law has not been followed is there. But we should not go there. That is extreme end. We should be desiring even or imagining to do so. I request that we work together to find proper mechanisms of ensuring that we have free and fair elections. In the law now, FKF constitution, by now they should have amended their constitution to make sure that the people who vote should be clubs. All over the world it's clubs who vote for the election. But now we have something in FKF constitution called branches. Those branches are not registered clubs. So we need, after these elections, to transit towards clubs to push first in the revision of the law to make it mandatory, and then now ask FKF to revise the law so that the clubs are the ones who are participating in the votes, and we need to know clubs up to what level and which delegate or who. That's why we have about 500 clubs now coming to vote for these presidential elections, and then we increase the level of legitimacy. For avoidance of that, I have no problem with the 92 delegates. It's not a unique system. It happens all over the world. It happens even in other elections. For as long as the law permits delegate system, there should not be issue. We should just move it now in future towards having a wider audience, like honorable members have suggested here in terms of the clubs. And then we have the clubs who have the federations who have complied with the financial information. Maybe I supplied that, but later I don't have the information right now as to how many of them. But we are working towards ensuring that for us to finance any federation and federation activities, they must be compliant. And you know that compliance or submission of financial information is goes together with the renewal of their in the law renewal of their registration and the status. So if you find any club that the registrar is clear, it's because they are compliant with everything, including financial information. So I should be able to share and so forth. Now there is yes, I agree. Sports. Okay, we suffer as a country from all forms of corruption in all kind of sectors. But when it comes to sports, the Sports Federation is very worked on, because this is not government body. Yet the people of Kenya and the government, the people of Kenya are expecting the government to intervene. For example, we are not FKF, we are not FIFA, but the people of Kenya want to see good football. So it's a very complicated management environment. If you want to ask a federation, can you give us your, how much money have you received from FIFA? How much money have you received from whatever? Or even from sponsors. You'll find them being very evasive, and the good news is that you can receive the financial position, but who will audit for you? Who is going to help you audit? What is the exact powers of the executive and the government towards these institutions, except the investigative agencies? So there is, again, a lacuna here that we really need to revise in the law to see what will be the clear responsibilities of government to federations. I think that we have an opportunity because we are the major sponsors of all national federation activities that are done as a country or representation. By virtue of that, having that pass as a country and as a government through sports fund, that should also help us, give us the leverage to demand a certain level of accountability. But in the law, we need to make it very clear. And I have told my people in the sports fund that don't give money to an institution that is not accounted for. But they usually come and account for only the ones we give them. But there's other money they raise elsewhere. The other reason why we do not have private sector financing our sports in the country, and our football leagues are not doing the way they should be, we are among the lowest paying league in the continent, is because the private sector does not even trust how the federation are run. The level of transparency that is there, nobody wants to throw their money chasing after bad money. And therefore, I agree with Honorable Naomi that when we bring the law, let's see how we can expand the areas of accountability. But as a ministry, that's what we are trying to do now. For you to get registered, you must submit your accounts, but also for us to finance your activities, you must account to us for the money we give to you. On the sports academies, I know that the committee here was aware that we had advertised about 30 sports academies across the country, and the committee had been apprised about the same. However, there was a conversation within the executive that it was important to have standardized. By that time, we had standardized the sports academies to a cost of about 50 million shillings. There was a further conversation that for the sports academies to have greater value, we needed 2 or so halls in the academy itself for both indoor games and for meetings, for community meetings and so forth. So that enhanced the cost of constructing the academies by another 5 million shillings, and so necessitated a review that was done together by Sports Academy Kenya, Academy of Sports Kenya, and Kenya School of Debates. That template now, we have a standard template, and as members of National Assembly, you appreciate the template also we have had for TTIs across the country. So it's something like the TTIs, so that when you build a sports academy across the country, they are almost similar in structure and BQs. So I am confident that by Tuesday next week, we should advertise in my government. Re-advertise the academies with now new quantities of the same. So,
the fourth one, is it?
The third, I think, the third, I've told you it's the third. But this should be the third and final because we have consulted the highest level. There is no cause for alarm because in the first place, the money was not there anyway. At that point in time, we were advertising as we look for the money. But now we have made very good progress because, again, by the directive of the cabinet, we have been given the power to securitize the sports fund and to raise enough resources for building not just the academies but the stadium that we want to build across the country. So it's a positive development that by the time the advertisement and evaluation is done, we should also be completing the process of securitization, meaning that the resources will be available to do all of them. Because we were advertising that time 30 sports academies costing about 1.5 billion, but the only money that had been set aside was about $500 million. So, but now we will even be able to advertise after the 30, if they will progress with the securitization as we have gone, by another 3 months we should advertise another 30, so that progressively, we should move in the next 3 years, 4, 5, to the most of the constituencies across the country. Thank you, Chair. And I think this thing of the academies, by the time I come back with a proper question invited by the committee, we will not be discussing advertisement, we will be discussing now implementation.
Point of order, Chair. Yes, it's on record on this committee, actually on the room opposite, whereby the PS and the CS Sports Academy, Sports Fund, CEO Sports Fund, Mr. appeared to us, and it was not an easy meeting because they responded to that meeting on oath. You need to know that they responded to that meeting on oath. All of them were on oath. And you have just said something which have shocked me. You want to tell me the PS and no lied to us that there was money. Now, they tell you that you're telling us there was no money. Now, who do you oath now next? Do you oath you, or do you recall them and oath them again? Because, PS, I will be honest with you. This issue was very emotive, and I wish Honorable Mary Emasa was here. You would not like to be on that seat. Thank God she's not. Because she was in position to defend the president, having been called a liar that weekend because of the same issue. And I think we will not get to that with me and you. But I want you to put us to very clear notice that we are not going to have another saga. And I will tell you why. CNN was in this committee last parliament.
Yes.
Last parliament. And the issue of sports academy was there.
Yes.
Down the line, he has been elected again. And no single sports academy. Can you guarantee me I will not come back again next parliament and we are discussing the same issue? And I want to take your word, the third cancellation will be the last. But from Tuesday, we proceed. Because I believe that business will not be as usual again. Please. And if you need to consult, we can allow you to have team consult and come back before we oath you. Then we can look for a lawyer to oath you so that we can have a very clear direction.
Mr. Chair, that which ends well. What do they say? They say, what ends well? What ends well is better than what started well and doesn't end well. Let's put it in that manner. The good news is that the effort of CNN and the team and the people who came before us has improved the sports academy. In fact, you as a committee, you started with 200 million and whatever, that. These designs have improved to a level where now, even this tweaking recently was necessary to just make sure that we don't go promise also young people will have ICT centers, we will have community, whatever. We use the space that we have to increase that very important issue. I don't think the PS and the NU lied. Eventually the money was going to be found, but it was up to be progressive because they had said on the immediate the 500 million because they don't have the money. And then it would maybe in the third quarter would have got the other 500, maybe by the end of the year would have done the 30. But this securitization issue makes it more instant for us, and not just to do the sports academies, but also to finance the study for Africa Cup of Nations and the other ones we promised in Wote, in Yeri, and other parts of the country. So I have never been more confident. I came from a roads sector where money and paying bills was a problem. I am very confident about this one because the securitization of this sports fund is easier. If you raise the sports fund even if you raise in the first phase 10 billion, it does more work than if you go to other infrastructure sector. So take it from me. It was in good. Some of the contractors, let me tell you this, some of the contractors have come to us and said, we deserve to be paid because of charm. Yeah, because of charm. Not even sports academies, because of the Chad, and Africa Cup of Nations. We have had to speak to them and tell them, if we were to remove these resources that we have at the moment and pay you, we'll only pay one contractor. But by securitizing this money, we're able to pay you, the other contractors, and we're able to construct our sports academies. So, Chair, it was in good faith that we delayed to the level where, remember, we came to government when we were avoiding this issue of securitization of road maintenance levy, sports fund, tourism fund, and so forth. But now that we've reached a stage in the economy where we have confidence that we can securitize sports fund and do our infrastructure, I promise you, because also I have a job to protect, that as a ministry, this gives us the room to do massive infrastructure at once and show results to the people of Kenya across the country. I'm not just promising for the 30. You've heard me speaking elsewhere. Even beyond the 30, securitization gives us room now to come back early next year and start pick another 30. Perhaps, our hope, of course, as you know, in the 5 years or so, we should have 290. But we must start from areas that don't have study, that don't have what, like you've already chosen. We've already chosen as a ministry, and the committee concurs. This 30 gives us the first phase as we go to the second and so forth. I take it from here. Let me give you my word. I wanted to put it actually in the national side newspaper this week. But because of the austerity measures of government, I wanted to put it on Thursday. But because of the austerity measures of government, we just agreed, we put it on Tuesday next week in my government. Otherwise, it's ready, everything is ready.
The PSA and the scheme. But we will impeach them because we cannot sit here. We go to our villages very excited with all the chiefs and village elders clapping for us. Me being a new member of parliament, how do I go back to the people and say, the new CS came in with the new terms? Because that is what I'm saying. It is very unfortunate that we are still discussing about this. I thought we were going to be told from this date and this date, things are rolling out. Not cancellations, postponement, new discussions. It's sitting bad. Even as you sit there, I was telling my colleague, the CS is talking too much. Because already I'm seeing it is not progressive. We are now on a pause, and yet we had kid play. We were so excited, all of us here. So I don't know what exactly you've been saying. Maybe I'm not understanding because I just blocked. From listening, I blocked my mind. Can somebody talk a language I understand here? I
will need a translator, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I want to assure our democracy, running a government is not an easy thing, especially when it comes to money. You need to be, and this is money. It is not about anything else, it's about money. And as a country, we have to adapt to mechanisms that can give us greater value at once. You have 7 acres. You have other government programs that you want to implement. You can construct a sports academy alone for 50 million. But you can add a social hall, indoor arena for playing maybe boxing and table tennis and other issues in the same place. It is worth waiting for another 2 weeks to have this value at once and maximize the resource that is there at once than to hurry up enough white elephants in the country. It's better when it's something good. And I don't think I'm speaking a language that is strange. This language is of truth. There's no other way we can say. Let's just do this. We advertise the academies. I know I was not appearing before this committee on this issue, and I didn't have to answer today. I would have easily told the chair, I was not prepared for this question when I come back and so forth. But because I know the answer, there was no need for me to say, okay, I'll go back and consult. You'll see the advert on Tuesday.
Chair, I would like to.
Let's have the advert on Tuesday. And Mr. Chair, let's thank God that as a country and parliament, we have turned around. Because this conversation of securitization of a fund, we started when we got to office with road maintenance levy. Had we done that at that point in time, we would have moved to certain steps. But because of the economic situation when we entered in, we needed first to stabilize. I'm sure even my colleague in the road sector now has the confidence when he appears before you as members of parliament that in a few weeks or months, once we get the securitized road maintenance levy, we'll deal with the pending bills on the other side. This is a sports academy that should be in place, cannot take 6 months to build. If we are building stadia in 3 months, 6 months, it should not take long. Once we advertise and with the guarantee of the resources, we should be able to complete them once. And I don't think it is fair to say the PS and Mr. Nu lied. They did not. What they did was they knew that in the rest, by the end of the year, all of them will proceed. But you put the money as you progress. The first quarter 500, the next quarter 500, and I know since I'm not speaking in camera, they were saying that confidently because they knew in the 500 that is there, it will sort out the problem he thought was giving him problem here. So that's how you. I will say that if we were to remain in camera, they were sure that the 500 million they have will sort out the most immediate pressing challenge that the members of parliament know here, and the others that were not so immediate can be done in the subsequent quarter. So that's how they have structured it by the time they come to answer here. That has not changed, except for the executive saying that let's have a template that carries on the social goals and the indoor games, which has increased the cost by 5 million. There was no other reason why we needed to do this. Yeah.
Thank you, Waziri.
Maybe the committee should also know, when I come back next, we'll come and discuss this, maybe to come and present the designs.
Yes.
Because you should also know that we have now capped the cost of constructing stadium. In the past, it was dependent on the sitting and bidding and so forth. The same way the sports stadium will cost about 55 million, we have capped the cost of constructing a 10,000 seater stadium, 15,000 seater stadium, 5,000 seater stadium. So that going forward, you don't have this thing of in Marsabit the cost is inflated, in Wote it is whatever. And by doing so, we will be able to deliver more stadiums in the next phase of this administration.
Thank you, Waziri. I think we can move to amend the issue of Sport Academy. Waziri has already assured us that by Tuesday there will be advertised. So I think members
He said it's going to look at it. And my concern is, you see, we have distance, variations of distance and terrains. So if you look at it to a certain amount of money, or you standardize, it means some contractors are going to run away from the sites. Because the cost of building a stadium in Mfangano Island can't be the same with building a similar stadium in Kapete or in Kadara.
Mr. Chair, Honorable Basil knows very well that is not the case, because as a member of National Assembly, he knows that the TTIs have a similar coupling, but with the influx, the variations infused in it, so that building in an island in Lamu has its own way of varying. So it's a plus minus, there's a figure around plus minus, but by and large you know that if a stadium is costing 750 million, in areas where you save money, you can save 50 million. In areas where you have challenges of materials, it can go by 50. So you know you can't vary too far. And also it's not that you will give somebody and say, Basil constructed this. It will be based also on bidding, because the bidders will see the bill of quantities. The same way we've done with the Sports Academy. The bidder will come and see the bill of quantities, and they will make the proposal they do. In fact, let me just put it this way. The easiest way to understand is, this is a model for the TTIs, and we all know that we've done more than 150, is it 150, maybe even 200 TTIs across the country.
Thank you, Waziri. Any other member in the nation?
Yes. Chair.
You'll be the last one.
Yeah, mine is just recommendations. CS, it's very important. We insist on Section 67 of the Sports Act 2013 for the institutions before they come. Number 2, for FKF, set Blatter State in football for 38 years. 38 years. I think if you follow some of these federations like French, English, Greek, Italian,
they don't have a term limit. We need to benchmark with other successful countries to see whether we can replicate what they have as their FKF. The other issue of sports academy, we conceptualized this idea back in 2017, and Dan Wanyama was one of us, the current chair. Please let us ensure we do it the last one now, because it's proving to be a costly affair for contractors even. And contractors are Kenyans. If you tender, you retender, you will incur a lot of costs, and you end up just giving up and also confusing the whole country. So let us deal with the matter the last minute and the last chance actually, so that we can start and do this exciting project to Kenyans.
I totally agree, Mr. Chair, and I pledge that it's costing to Kenyans, it's also costing to us, advertising and all that. This should be the last time, and hopefully this becomes the best of them. Now we move to the phase of supervision to make sure that we supervise and provide good infrastructure that people of Kenya can be proud of. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have come to the end of this meeting. Thank you, Aziz.
We have sorted that to a good extent. Yeah, that everybody is not running for the seat they want to run. We just need to sort a small problem.
Does that include Doris, Petra?
Doris is okay because she was, you see, you can't stop someone from progressing from vice chair or from secretary general or whatever. The term limit is the limit of the position you hold. And that's why I gave extensive interpretation of why deputy president and president find themselves in the situation they do. The rest of the people, that's why I wanted to respond to this. You can be FKF for 38 years and accept latter, as now our constitution, for as long as not the same position.
Chair, sorry, I agree with you, Waziri, on the term limit for Mwendwa. I mean, it's not qualified. There's no doubt about that. But Petra and Otieno Valley, there's an issue of conflict of interest in terms of preparation of the register, and we need to deal with that issue. There's a big issue on conflict of interest. And finally, for the registrar, the 92 delegates, if that list can be approved by you and made public, I think that is the only way you can guarantee fairness and transparency in elections. It should not come from the contestants. It should come from the office of the registrar. I think that is what the law says. It should be published, approved by you, and made public in good time for all the candidates. Thank you. There's nothing before.
Thank you, Chair. I think we'll take in those suggestions.